Good afternoon, Jim Orbineth again. One of the reasons I'm making this video is because I didn't plan to. I kind of have to. What I had planned for this weekend was material on primary source research, but it's been sort of pushed back because of recent events in the Middle East and the American and Israeli strikes against the Islamic Republic of Iran. I see this as a case of policy goals and considerations and interests coming together. Obviously, the United States, the great Satan, per the Ayatollahs, and Israel, the lesser Satan, have a security interest in preventing the deployment of Iranian missiles, and especially Iranian missiles with nuclear warheads. That Iran, armed with nukes, would be an existential threat to both countries, as well as Saudi Arabia and other neighbors. This is something that I accept not as a matter of fact, not a matter of faith, because I'm not really good at faith, but because I see the evidence pointing that way, both in terms of their leaders' rhetoric, prior actions, and a full knowledge of what nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles can do. Iran is a major sponsor of state terrorism. If they're not the biggest in the world, they're trying. Therefore, we have converging security interests in neutralizing the Islamic Republic. We also have interests that converge with those of the Iranian people, who have suffered for 47 years under the corrupt misrule of a religious theocracy. I see a lot of rhetoric now from Iranian opponents of the regime, who say that Iran is Persian. It's not Islamic. It's an occupation regime. In some ways, they're right. In other ways, you can be from an ethnicity and also embrace Islam. However, the Islamist approach of the Islamic Republic is definitely against the interests of the Iranian people, whom I see as wanting freedom. They want prosperity. They want greater ties to the West. And they don't want a bunch of mullahs telling them what to do all the time under a sham democracy in which all the candidates have to be vetted by a council of guardians. You're not going to vote your way out of this sort of tyranny. Where I see the current aerial and missile and drone campaign as going is not regime change by the United States and its allies. Where I see it is creating the conditions where the Iranian people can choose their own regime. They can choose their own future. With the Islamic Republic, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps busy defending its bases and trying not to get killed the way that the Ayatollah just was, this could open a window for the Iranian people. Excuse me. We've also seen how ruthless the regime has been since January, killing tens of thousands of their own people in order to maintain their iron grip on the country. Where the bombing and missile and drone campaigns can go is to create the conditions where that iron grip loosens enough for the Iranian people to chase their overlords out of the country and hopefully off planet Earth into whatever realm they have earned in this life, go on to the afterlife. This is where I see the most important the most important potential consequence. And this would also serve American and Israeli interests, because a free Western-looking Iran, under the control of its own people selecting its own destiny, are far more likely to ally and have commerce for prosperity, if you will, with the United States and Israel, the greater and the lesser Satan, as portrayed by the mullahs and the Ayatollahs. That this would really help the long-term interests of the countries currently um, currently bombing Iran. That this is a long term goal that would serve both the people of Iran and the countries currently attacking it. So this is all good. And we have to differentiate too between the Islamist Republic and its current regime and the Iranian people. The Iranian people have an ancient culture that goes back thousands of years. They're not just those guys that Alexander the Great beat up on. They created one of the first empires in the world, one that was pretty tolerant and also embraced the idea of local self rule. Um, the King of Kings was seldom a tyrant during the classical era and was willing to allow local populations to rule themselves as long as they paid their taxes and were basically loyal to the empire. I don't think that the Greeks of Asia Minor had such a bad deal under Persian rule. Now, this isn't to denigrate the victories at Marathon or Thermopylae or Salamis, that these were important victories for the West, but the old Persian Empire was not the mortal threat that, say, the Mongols were later, or the Huns. This was one that was actually closer to Western civilization than we sometimes give credit for. And since then, the Iranian people, the Iranian culture, they've had a very rich culture. I do not see them as natural enemies of the United States or Israel or the West. I see them as, if anything, natural allies. And I've really looked forward to the day when they could have the choice of whether or not they realign with the West. This is up to them. It should be up to them, not the theocracy. So here's where all of our interests come into view, and they all converge. So therefore, I really hope the best for the Iranian people. I hope we can welcome them back from outlaw status into the freedom that they deserve and the freedom that has been denied to them. So therefore, I see this as progress. I also see it in a way as sort of an ethical atonement. The Islamic Republic in some ways owes its existence to events in 1979, not just revolution against the Shah. And let's not try to paint lipstick on that pig. He was not a nice man. Excuse me. He was corrupt. He redlined his country into modernity, maybe faster than many of them wanted. He made his mistakes. He made some really big ones and was a human rights violator. Maybe he deserved to go. But I think that many in the West, and this includes the United States government, were so wrapped up in this, they could not see that the alternative would be worse. That we would be facing 47 years of a dedicated existential enemy as opposed to an ally. And if you really want to get into realpolitik about this, that Jimmy Carter's undermining of the Shah and chasing him out of power, providing the last kick in the pants he needed to be kicked out, was a generational mistake made from good motives. But we know that good intentions are the pathway to hell, and this was a hell for the Iranian people as well as for the West. We've had 47 years of sponsorship of terrorism. We have had 47 years of striving for a nuclear weapon with which to destroy their neighbors, especially Israel and Saudi Arabia. We've had 47 years of being mass troublemakers and unbroken hostility. And trying to deal with the Islamist Republic, I feel, was always an exercise in bad faith. The West would show up with good intentions. They would come up laughing up their sleeves. So I will be very, very happy should the Islamist Republic fall. Whether it's replaced by constitutional monarchy under the reign, if not rule, but hopefully a reign of Reza Pahlavi. That's up to the Iranian people. Whether they choose a different path with a presidential system, that's up to them. But we have to create the conditions that they can actually make a choice and undo the damage that well-meaning Iranians made inflicted in 1979, in which well-meaning, ethical Americans enabled. Let them choose. This is providing Iranians with the ability to choose, hopefully. I will be very disappointed if this campaign results in the survival of the Islamic Republic. Then maybe it would be time to go back and review our options. But currently, I hope the absolute worst for the Islamic Republic of Iran and the absolute best for the Iranian people. I really, really want both my country, the United States of America, and Iran to go back to being allies. Some say that there's no such thing as friendship in international relations. There's only interests. But I think that we can reconstruct the Iranian-American relationship to the point that the United States and Iran can be close allies again and cooperate against common rivals and foes. This is my deepest hope for the region. And I think this would increase the possibilities and the probabilities of peace in the Middle East. You would no longer have Iran acting through its axis of resistance, making trouble in Gaza, making trouble in Yemen, making trouble in Lebanon, through powerful proxy groups. You kick that leg from under the stool, the other troublemakers fall over. This is what I want. This is subjective, I'll grant you that, but it's based on a reasonably informed knowledge of the area and the relationships between countries. You may be able to chalk this up and say, oh, this is just opinion. I think it's reasonably informed opinion. You be the judge. But in any case, thank you for your time, and I do hope the very, very best for the Iranian people, and I'm just very sorry I don't have the old fly care to fly behind me. Haven't been shopping yet. But be satisfied that I have absolutely no hostility towards the Iranians as a people. I have admiration for their culture and their history, and I have the exact opposite for the Islamic Republic. To quote from my favorite band, Blue Oyster Cult, from a song they did in 1980 called Divine Wind, if they really think we're the devil, then let's send them to hell. And hopefully the Iranian people will be the ones who send the Islamic Republic to hell. We just create the circumstances. So thank you very much, and I'll be back with more standard material, hopefully a little later this week, stuff I've been working on. Maybe standard, may not. You be the judge. Just keep on liking, subscribing, and above all, sharing my videos. Because I'm not doing this under an empty basket, and I really don't want to. Oh, and here comes Dudley. Dudley's very attentive. He's my dog. Trained Walker Coonhound. Well, you see his tail. Come up here, Dudley. But I'll see you down the road, and thank you once again for your time and attention. And thank you for your attention to this matter. Bye.